Now, recently, government established the Water Partnership Office within the Development Bank of Southern Africa, that's the DBSA, as a way of trying to address the problem. Now, the WPO sets out 5 standardized national programs for private sector participation in municipal water and sanitation services. To understand the role the private sector plays or can play, I'm joined now by water expert Professor Mike Muller via Zoom. Prof, good afternoon. Welcome to today here on eNCA, and thank you very much for your time. This Water Partnership Office, the WPO, seemingly is guiding government with the DBSA, I'm sure from a funding perspective, how private sector can participate in water and sanitation services. Do you think it's going to work?
Yes, indeed. Good afternoon, Dan, and to your viewers. It can work, and it's been in the works, actually being prepared for a couple of years now. So they've had a lot of time to think about it. And the real aim of it is, in fact, to try and ensure that some of the more complicated pieces of intervention that are needed at local government, that there's someone there who can help them to do it. Because what we find in local government, and we see it every year when money is given back to Treasury, is that sometimes there's money to do the work, but the municipalities really have difficulty using that money properly. And this partnership office is being put up to help the process of spending money. And in the process, if they do that, they'll find in many cases there's private sector investors who are willing to put money into the process. And that'll mean that there's more money available from government to be spread around if the private sector can be brought in. So it could work, but it's been in the works for a long time, and we now need to see delivery rather than just preparation and planning.
Yeah, from your answer, it seems to me that it's not just about funding, it's also about ensuring there's capability in the local municipalities through the participation of the project sector to deliver on whatever aspect of water and sanitation service will be required in a specific municipality.
Let me give you an example of where the municipalities have really run into trouble. You know, one of the things we could do quickly and really usefully is to reduce leakage from the water systems of the cities, both whether it's inside people's houses or in the streets through broken pipes. And there are people in South Africa who've demonstrated over and over again that if you will just share with them the savings of money that you get by reducing leakage, because don't forget the municipality pays for that water that leaks. If you just share the savings with the contractors, they will be able to substantially reduce leaks. But you can imagine going into a council meeting and saying, we want to appoint these contractors, they promise they'll save us money, and we have to give them half of the savings. No one will trust that municipality. They'll all ask, who's these friends of yours who want us to give them money? Now, the advantage of the partnership office is it can set up specialist contracts. It can bring in external experts to make sure the contracts are properly done, so that if there is to be a reward to the contractor for saving money, that can be properly audited and there's no funny business. So that's an example of how this office could help to standardize a contract, saving water in a municipal network, and do things that the municipalities actually find very difficult to do at the moment. Just set up the process, make sure it's properly managed and run, and the money will flow into it. And there'll be good results from, as we've seen from Cape Town to Mfuleni, it can be very effective and quite quick. So there would be an example of the kind of thing that the WPO could support.
Yeah, and this is not really about handing over water boards to be run by private hands.
No, I think they call it a water partnership office, and I think that's a useful way of looking at it, because there are capabilities in the private sector which can do things that the municipalities can't, but equally it is the municipal responsibility to make the services flow. So look at another example. We know that there's a lot of sewage works which are just not working at all, and there are no qualified people in municipalities to run them, and the municipalities find this very difficult. Now, if you bring in a private contractor to undertake that work, How do you know that it's properly done? How do you write a contract for that and get value for money? Again, if you bring in an external expert group which can be trusted to review these things, then perhaps you can ensure that what is done is value for money and is worthwhile the local governments partnering with. So they can help facilitate the quality of the work as well as to ensure that then funding is available. Trouble, of course, is they also need to ensure that the municipality is going to be able to pay for those services. And that is one of the big obstacles that's going to arise, because at some point the municipalities are going to have to say, okay, here's our budget. You can have so many % of the budget to pay for these services. It'll be interesting to see if they get that part of it right, because the partnerships will only work if the private partner has some assurance that they'll get the money for the work they do.
Finally, Prof, I mean, what would it take in your view? You said the WPO has been in the works for some time and it's time now to get it delivered. We are heading into an election year next year, and many analysts we speak to say some of these things also depend on the appetite of the current ruling party to make sure that these things can happen and not rock the boat and ahead of the elections. Can we expect the WPO to get underway soon in that context? Because we do have a water challenge in our country, big time.
Yeah, indeed. And I mean, that water saving process is a very good example, because it can be quite a rapid process, and it's the kind of process that requires quite a few people. You actually, if you want to save water from leaking in households, you've got to have people who will go knock on the door and have a look and see whether there's leaks that need to be fixed. And you can save a lot of water that way. But by the way, you can also create some jobs. Now, we had a war on leaks, which was supposed to do that. And it was appalling, because we put 3 billion rand into trying to fix the leaks. But the way it was run, all that leaked was the money. It didn't stop any water leaks. And let's hope that under more professional management this time round, we get a better job done, because the history of the war on leaks is a horrible one, but it's such a quick win, which will generate jobs, save water, save money, and improve services for everybody.
Thank you very much. Professor Mike Muller, just sharing us some of the insights and giving us some analysis around the role of the private sector through this WPO, this Water Partnership Office that's been set up by government within the Development Bank of Southern Africa, DBSA.